Good afternoon. I'll open up the meeting for Monday, October 18th, 2021, our 3 p.m. session. And as usual, we'll begin our meeting with our invocation. And Vice Chairman Wright, will you please lead us?
Bow your head if you care to. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you put your hand of guidance on us as a commission. We ask that you help us make the wise decisions for the county and our people. We ask that you put your healing hand on all the sick people. I have personally, and I know everyone has, lost so many friends to COVID. We ask that you give all the elected leaders the wisdom to make the right decisions. We ask that you protect our fire, rescue, and public safety, police, sheriff, and everything. I ask all this in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through 31st. No one here will be here today to receive this, but we'd like to share it with you. Red Ribbon Week is an alcohol, tobacco, and other drug and violent prevention awareness campaign observed annually in October in the United States. It began as a tribute to a fallen DEA agent, Erskine Camarillo, in 1985. According to the United States DEA, Red Ribbon Week is the nation's largest and longest running drug awareness and prevention program. The Board of Commissioners is requested to adopt the proclamation for October 23rd through 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week in Union County. And I'd like to read the proclamation. Whereas alcohol and other drug abuse in this nation has reached epidemic stages, and whereas it is imperative that visible, unified prevention education efforts by the community members be launched to eliminate the demand for drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers residents the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to a drug-free lifestyle, no use of illegal drugs, no illegal use of legal drugs, and whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st, and whereas businesses, government, parents, law enforcement, media, medical, religious institutions, schools, senior citizens, service organizations, and youth will demonstrate their commitment to a healthy, drug-free lifestyle by wearing and displaying red ribbons during this week-long campaign. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Union County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week and encourages Union County residents to participate in drug prevention education activities not only during the Red Ribbon Week, but also all year long, making visible statement that we strongly commit to a drug-free county. Adopted this 18th day of October, 2021. All in favor of the proclamation? Aye. Okay. All right, thank you. Next, we have informal comments. First, is Sean Slattery, if you want to come, and I'll read this while he's approaching. Each speaker must address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks giving their name, stating whether they are residents of Union County, indicating the municipality within which they reside, if any, and stating the topic about which they intend to speak. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to make remarks. A speaker may not yield any of his or her time to another speaker. Speakers may not discuss matters which are the subject of public hearings and they must be courteous in their language and presentation. Restatements or repetitive comments by the same speaker, whether the same or separate meetings, may be ruled out of order and terminated by the chairman. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Speakers may leave written comments and/or supporting documentation, if any, with the clerk on the board. Mr. Slattery.
Thank you. My name is Sean Slattery. I reside in Waxhaw, Union County. Thank you for allowing me to come up here before you. My wife and I appeared before you last August, and the reason why I did, because I didn't understand how my house was assessed. You assessed my house at a property value of $1 million, or the county assessor did, $1,125,000. I came in here, my wife and I appealed it, because our home, we just refinanced it, and it got assessed with the bank at $920,000. But my concern is not that. I have a neighbor that, since 2015, has a property value of $462,000. There's no equality there whatsoever. None. He's paying less than $2,000 a month, or annually rather, than I am. We just had our houses reassessed, and his was from $462 to $794. That's $330,000 less than what my house was assessed. The gentleman is Richard Helms. I do not know how Mr. Helms could live there in that property, literally paying $2,000 a year less than I do. The optics are not good. And I don't know how this happens. How does someone on this commission with more acreage than I have, more square footage than I have, he has a pool, I have a pool, he has a barn, I have a barn, but he has more acreage, more square footage, yet he's being assessed at $462,000. I've been at $790-something thousand for the last 5 years. Then you just reassessed me at $1,125,000, and he gets reassessed at $794,000. As I said, the optics aren't good. And how do you fix this? How does this get fixed? I don't know. Maybe you police yourself, but I don't know how this happens. Thank you for your time. And I've got to continue with this, but this is not fair. So anyway, you have a good day. No thoughts, nothing?
Generally, we do not address speakers.
Okay, excuse me. Yes.
Next, we have Loretta.
I'm back and I'm so confused. Loretta Melanson, 2923 Meadow Creek Lane in Monroe. I haven't been here in a while, and I'm looking and seeing people in different places, but Mr. Elam straightened me out. I am here on very serious matters. That's why the tiara stayed at home. I've already been asked, where's the tiara? I am still the litter queen, but what I want to say today is so serious, I left it at home. Thank you. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Union County, for the litter task force, which you all approved fairly recently as part of the visioning. And I want to in particular I see Jeff is here from General Services, but Ron Gilkerson, head of solid waste, the people at the landfill, Jennifer Crumpler, who is the recycle person, is going to be the liaison between litter busters and solid waste. We are ready to go in January with our first meeting. It'll be an organizational meeting. We don't know what this committee's going to look like yet, but it is going to brainstorm how to prevent litter. We are so tired of picking up, but we are determined that Union County is going to have roadsides that we can be proud of. Thank you again for your votes.
Thank you for what you do. We're under a new agenda program, so we may have some faux pas here, but next we do staff recognition. And we have our service awards, and the following are for 5 years. Krista Javier, Frank Spear, Holly Yantz, Diana Brown, Shanada Imonti, and I know I butchered that, I apologize, and Terry Martin. With 10 years, we have Evan Helms with the library. With 15 years, Jackie Morgan with Human Services, Jennifer Childers with Human Services, Tara Braswell with Parks and Rec, Neil McCain with Sheriff's Office, Dorothy Rollins with Human Services. With 20 years, we have Tabitha Rogers in the Sheriff's Office. And with 25 years, Amanda Smith with 911 Communications. And October retirements, Laura Nazuli with Public Works, retired with 25 years. Next, we have the agenda, and I'm going to deviate here a little bit. Is there any adoptions to the agenda? You won't see it on your thing, okay. Our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, under business, we have Andrew Ainsley with Union County Emergency Management Director. If you'll come and share with us, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the time today. Manager Watson, the executive team. We have a presentation for you. Get the computer to wake up. Okay. All right, we're going to share some information with you about a partnership that was formed a year and a half, 2 years ago between Union County Emergency Services, Fire Marshal and Emergency Management specifically, and the Monroe Fire Department. As you know, Monroe Fire recently increased their capabilities to be recognized as a Type 2 swiftwater rescue team, which obviously provides benefits to us locally within the county, but also allows them to be a deployable resource throughout the state, helping other communities. In partnership with them is Emergency Services being able to travel with them on those deployments, providing a variety of amenities to them, whether it be radio communications, use of drones for reconnaissance, or base camp housing amenities. So not long after we formed that partnership, Tropical Storm Fred came to North Carolina back in August, and Monroe was asked to deploy to Western North Carolina. So that's what we're here to show you today, is to demonstrate how that partnership worked. Joined with me today is Chief Fowler. I'm going to turn that over to him to kick it off. Chief.
Thank you, Andrew, and good evening, Commissioners, and Mr. Manager. It's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here with you this afternoon. I just want to say that we are really pleased with this partnership that we developed through with Emergency Management and Union County. It certainly has allowed us to increase our water rescue capabilities. It's something we've been working to do for some time, and I think this is a great partnership. I think it's really good for the citizens of Monroe and the citizens of Union County. So just want to say thank you for that. We did have the deployment, as Andrew mentioned. I do have our Battalion Chief, Johnny Blythe, here with us this afternoon. I'm sure you know Chief Blythe from his leadership role with the county fire departments. Chief Blythe also serves as a battalion chief with our department. He's also our coordinator of our water rescue team and that program, and he actually went on the deployment with this group. So I feel like he's the best one to share with you this presentation this afternoon. So I'll turn it over to Chief Blythe, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'm not going to echo everything that was said, but appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk through this deployment, what it means to the people, where we're going. So if y'all remember back when Florence came through Union County, we had a team here from Miami, Florida, that actually performed a rescue down on 218. They did several, but the most notable one was on 218 down there at Holly School Road. So we were acting in that role in Caruso, North Carolina, and Haywood County when we left on the 17th of August. So I got some pictures, and we'll kind of talk through each one of these. This was the group that deployed. We're missing a couple out of that, but that's the most part, the group that deployed to Haywood County right there. On this slide right here it's a picture of the map of the Pigeon River through Caruso. Basically, we were responsible from Burnett Cove Road up there at the top of the screen all the way down to the bottom of River Run Road. So we had all of that section of the river. The first day we got there, started out, we were looking for 48 people, I think, that were missing out of that section of the river. You know, and as they start finding them at friends' houses and other things, those numbers come down. At the end of the week, we were looking for 6 people. Out of those 6 people, we found 3 of them in that section of the river right there. So we gave 3 families, you know, of course they were deceased, but we gave 3 families closure to the process, you know, and that's a big deal for these folks up there. You got a lot of local people out there helping you work and so forth. So on day one, we left on the 17th of August. We arrived at Mitchell County and stayed overnight at a fire department in Mitchell County. And day 2, they sent us down to Waynesville around lunchtime. So and then after that, we were assigned that afternoon to the North Carolina Emergency Management Task Force Team 2 out of Buncombe County. So we were operating as their Type 2 swiftwater team on that task force. And so we arrived in Caruso that afternoon with Task Force 2 to start the work. That very first day, we put the raft in, went directly across the river, and we found a body right there. So at that point, we started working through the process and, backed up. That basically took the majority of that day getting that handled and taken care of. So after that, land search, we searched by water every day on the raft, and we worked on that. Well, I think it was 95 acres or 110 acres total, 95 down in the bottom section, and we searched some more up top. 110 acres we searched on foot along the banks of the river and where the river had swollen out into areas. And we used drones, which EM has a drone team. We used a Union County drone team to help us determine areas of probability and where we needed to search that ground crews to place them in and do the search to check. So it was a big task. If you think back to August 17, 18, the weather was 90, 95 degrees, and you saw the way those guys were dressed. They walked 110 acres like that, searching every debris pile behind every tree. And every day, remember that the water keeps going down. I think over the time we were there, the water went down over 4 feet. So every day you're looking at something new, so we have to keep doing the same areas that we were searching. So these are pictures of briefings at the fairgrounds in Waynesville, where we were getting our IEP for the day and where we were going and what we were going to be doing. There's a lot of teams here. I think there was a picture, there's a picture here of all the teams lined up. You can see the military's there. There was Raleigh was there, Charlotte was there, Wilmington was there. A bunch of teams from around the state, Rocky Mount were there, and so we were in there working with them. And here we are trying to figure out what we're going to search. This is what we used the drone footage for. You see that map right there, so we would figure out the team locations and how we're going to put them in, what sections had been searched, what sections hadn't. And that's a tall task. And here's the briefing that morning. We're going over what sections we're going to search and how we're going to do it. So, and here are pictures of the debris piles and what was. So if you will, at the top of the mountain, there was a landslide just above this campground right here, and the majority of the people that were killed came from that campground area and washed down the river. It was so the landslide dammed up the river, and when it broke through, it was just a large wall of water. Some people talked about it being 12, 14 foot high when it came down through the valley there where we were working. And so you can see the campers in there and how they look. This is what we were doing when I say we searched 110 acres. This is what it looked like when we were searching it. So you can see there's a lot of work there, each one of those piles. So assigned to us, we had the drone team from Union County EM. We had a drone team from Jackson County EM. We had 2 ground teams, 2 boat teams. We had 2 cadaver dog teams that were assigned with us. And that's who was working in our area. And so we were working through all of the processes for the planning and carrying out those missions in that section of the river, 2 miles. And you can see when that wall of water came through, you can see the Kubota tractor back there. You can see there's a trailer wrapped around that tree there, how violent it was. Luckily, this was like at 10 o'clock in the morning and not 10 o'clock at night. Had it been at 10 o'clock at night, it'd been a whole lot worse. And you can see on the left where you see that Mini X working. So our team is in there with chainsaws cutting that into small sections and moving it out because we had a hit there from the cadaver dog on that pile. So it turned out, I think the guy was just down the river from there. We left the next day. They found him just down the river from there. And this is one of the boat teams. This is our boat team from Monroe on the water. And you can see in the background, you see how it's piled up. Where the river would bend, there were whole houses of lumber just piled up in the corner of the river. And we had to dig through that if we get a hit from the cadaver dog. And that's the kind of work we were doing, dressed just like those guys right there are in dry suits. We all understand if it won't let water in, it won't let water out either, right? So these guys at the end of the day walking around, they got water up to their waist to sweat inside that suit. And so we're working 14-hour days. And luckily they did put us up at Lake Junaluska. For whatever reason, I think I got the kids section because from my knees down, wasn't on the bed the whole week, you know, so yeah, some of these smaller guys look like normal people in there. But you know, it was challenging, you know, for the first go, you know, of us deploying. I think this was a pretty good incident to challenge our abilities. And here they are, just ground searching. You can see the debris piles that we're having to work on and how that affects. I thought Will had some drone footage in here. This trailer on the right is actually on the side of the road. It washed it all the way across the street and out of the river. And that's where one of the victims that we found came from, right there, about 2.6 miles down the river from where she was last seen, where we found her. And that boat team on the left right there searching. Yeah, let me see if I can start this. And you can kind of see, this was on the second day. This was on the second day right here. And you can kind of see how the water still, like I said, it went down 4 feet over the time that we were there. And you can see what these guys are dealing with. And you'll see as he gets a little higher, you can kind of see the scope of everything. And this is a Union County Emergency Management drone team here, footage. And this guy's place off to the left right here, he's been living there the majority of his life, and he was about 80. Said he'd never seen anything like it. His wife was actually holding on to the telephone pole in the front yard because she'd went out to try to close that building that you see right there in the front. She was holding on to the telephone pole right there when the big flood came through, and she survived. She was able to hold on to that telephone pole you see bent over right there out in the front yard. And you can see how wide an area that the water washed into, and that's what we're having to search every piece of that. Every structure, we had to look through every structure and do structural damage assessments on each one of those and make sure we got every square inch till we found everybody that was missing. They did find everybody. We left on Sunday, and Monday, they found the last victim on Monday. So, you can see, like I say, he'd lived there his whole life. He said he'd never seen anything like that. Even when the 2 hurricanes came through, what was that, 2004, they had 2 hurricanes come through back to back there. And Ivan and I can't remember the other one, but came through. They had a big flood right in this area during that. But none of this was underwater that you see here. And there's some more. That's actually the same one, isn't it? So you can see what it did to the campers. It just piled them up. There's some video out there that people had from back up on the hill above the, their campers were on the back row. After this was done, they were on the river. So it rerouted right through the middle of the campground and took out all these campers. And everybody that didn't make it out of this came out of the campground. That's the Jackson County drone team working right there, and you can see that's a 65-inch TV there that we're looking at. And we're trying to determine at that point, what areas, based off of our SAR topo maps, what areas we had searched and had not. That's what we're doing in that picture right there. A lot of planning. That's all I got for you. Y'all got any questions? Chief Fowler? Andrew?
Any questions? I tell you what, Johnny, I will say, Chief Fowler mentioned the cooperation between Union County and Monroe. I had the opportunity Saturday to watch that cooperation in action when we went through the certification process for tankers. It was very impressive how y'all work together, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
So we've got the one of the drones with us that Will flew from the video that you saw. This has FLIR on it, so it'll find a heat source as well. So there's a lot of uses for this, but this is actually the unit that we flew taking that video. So he's able to fly up to 400 feet, and with that FLIR, you can do some nighttime stuff with it. So huge advancement for us here in the county.
Thank y'all for what you do.
Chairman Helms, Patrick.
Oh, yes, sir.
I just wanted to say that this is experience that we would not be able to recreate. We cannot train for this locally. We can't train for this in North Carolina. That picture you saw, it is not just Monroe. It's not just Union County. The Chief of Stallings was in there. Johnny, I'm sure a number of your members are in other departments. So Union County agencies benefit just from being able to get this experience and take back to their respective departments. So I wanted to just touch on that and how this is a true county-wide benefit, because if we ever have something similar in Union County, we will be better prepared because we were able to go on site and train with some folks that actually are doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And that is an excellent point. Many of our full-time firefighters with Monroe are also either volunteers or part-time with the county departments here in Union County, many serving in, officer or chief positions. It just really creates a great relationship between the city and the county, and we couldn't ask for that working relationship to be any better than what it is on a department-to-department level. So, again, we appreciate that and appreciate what the county is doing as well. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Next, we have wastewater treatment capacity, a monthly update. Brian, you want to come share that with us, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and board members. So moving forward, obviously, it'll be just an information-only item as it was in the past, but we added some additional information that I wanted to just give you a sort of a update on what that is and why we added that. So in the report in the future, what you'll receive is also the amount of rainfall total that each one of the plants has a rain gauge, and we're able to actually get the rainfall totals for the month, and we'll provide that to the board, so you'll have that. Context is, just because it's a high month doesn't necessarily mean that the flows are or are not high. It really depends on a lot of other circumstances, but it gives you some data. You can see what we've got going on in each one of the plants, and it's interesting. It'll be higher in one area than it is in the other. And understand this too, it's at the plant. So those service areas are large, so it may be smaller rainfall at the plant and larger in some other areas, but it's just a data point for you to see. Also, what we added, and we think this is really important, is the context of what projects are potentially on the horizon for each one of your wastewater treatment facilities. And we've broken those down into 3 categories. One is they are ready for permitting, but cannot be permitted for whatever reason, that maybe there's not enough flow, maybe there's a capital project that's preventing that from moving forward. So we'll give you the total number of projects and the total amount of flow each month that's shown for those. The second one are those projects that are in what we call engineering plan review. Those are actually construction documents. They're actually, we anticipate that most of those projects will move forward with construction. I can't say that 100% of those will, but in most cases, if someone's spending the money to go through engineering design for construction, they're committed to construction at some point in time. Same thing, we'll give you total number of projects, total amount of flow that's actually being requested for those. They're not in line for permitting yet, they're just going through the process. And then the last category is sketch plan review. Those are really more speculative in nature. Not all of those will move through the process and become projects, but they are requesting us to review, see whether or not they can connect, what the flow amounts would be, and that data is provided. So what you see, just to give you an example for 12 Mile Creek, if you add all of that up, it's 1.5 million gallons of flow. We have a project that's an expansion project that's 1.5 million gallons of flow. It'll take us about 3 years to put in place. I'm by no means telling you that you're going to have 1.5 million gallons of flow in the next 3 years in projects, but this is to give you an idea. We have a lot of folks who are considering projects for capacity at our plant. So moving forward, you'll see this information. It'll be in your packet. If you have questions about it, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be happy to, explain or give you answers on those things. Any questions I can answer for you? All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have county manager's comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things this afternoon. One, you mentioned just a minute ago that this past Saturday, the North Carolina Office of State Fire Marshal was in our county certifying the tanker trucks. We have 24 tankers across our system with the fire departments in Union County. And they were also certifying a tanker task force down in the Jackson Volunteer Fire District. A couple of things about that project. That was the first time that all fire tankers in Union County had been certified at one time. Heretofore, there's a tanker task force that's assigned to each fire department, and as each fire department is evaluated for its ISO rating, that tanker task force has to participate in an exercise, and that process gets repeated a number of times a year. It takes a lot of equipment, a lot of manpower, a lot of hours to demonstrate proficiency to the Office of State Fire Marshal on an individual fire department basis. So by doing this exercise where all the fire tankers were certified at the same time, these fire tankers will never have to go back through that recertification process again. And the fire departments, well, as I just explained, it would make a whole lot better use of their time. And when they do come up for recertification, they're certifying on their fire suppression and response activities. The second part to that was the fire tanker task force down in the Jackson Fire District. Jackson doesn't have any pressurized water lines down in this district, so in order to fill fire trucks and tankers, they have to draft out of either ponds or lakes or what have you. Recently, Union County made an investment in some improvements at Cane Creek Lake that allow fire apparatus to pull closer to the lake and do a process, what's called turbo drafting, out of the lake in order to fill tankers right there at our Cane Creek Park Operations Center. That's the first time that that's ever happened. So I was down there Saturday and watched that process. It was impressive, and I'll tell you, my hat's off to all the folks that volunteered their time, energy, and effort to do that, again, on a volunteer basis. So it was a really good day for Union County on Saturday with that regard. The other two things that I have to mention to you today is that in the month of November, and we're still working on a date, but we're targeting the week after the first meeting, after your first regular meeting in November. We're looking to have another Public Works work session with the board for the purposes, two purposes with that. One is for you to receive a Public Works Master Plan update from Brown and Caldwell, who's doing that work, along with having a discussion concerning the extension of water transmission lines into areas of the county that may not have water service at the current time. So we look forward to that. In addition, we will have Black and Veatch with us to give you an overview of waste water treatment plant options on the Crooked Creek to service those areas in the Yadkin water basin. They will be providing you an overview or a scope of service from that option, timeline, steps that need to be taken, and options for making best use of current facilities that we have in place. So how can we take the current facilities we have in place, join them with a new facility, and improve the efficiencies of wastewater treatment in that area. So some things to look forward to in the month of November. And I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Okay. Next, we have commissioner comments. Commissioner Rushing? Commissioner Williams?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Ray?
Patrick, I want to give you some kudos. Mark was telling me that the water intake thing down at Cane Creek was a part of you and Jim Chapin working together, and you working with the fire department. And you remember earlier I called you the odd job band? Well, this is something that I didn't even know about, that we didn't have or needed it. But here you have got it in place. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with being the odd job man, especially to that house in the Jackson Fire District when the house is saved because somebody got called an odd job man and got it where they could get enough water to put it out. But I do thank you. And I asked Mark, I said, why had it not been done before? And he said he didn't really know. So we're getting things done that we don't even know needed to be done, and I appreciate you, and I know you're all part of the management team, but I do appreciate what you do. Thank you.
And we talked about the fire department's cooperation and working, and we also experienced that with the sheriff's department. Gentlemen, we really appreciate what you do for us, and respect each and every one of you, and thank you for everything. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.